Hello and welcome to this episode of Point Counterpoint. We are here as always to discuss and deliberate issues of concern and importance plaguing Goa or otherwise important enough for us to gather around a table and pontificate and discuss. Today's issue and the topic at hand is important but at the same time sad, primarily because this concerns the work and the professionalism of Goa's artists, theatrists, other performers, for whom the iconic Kala Academy designed by the eminent Charles Correa has always been a home away from home. To many, it is actually their first home rather than their second. They have all along used the Kala Academy as a center for solace, comfort, excellence, training and growth in their different careers. The Kala Academy as an institution has always been iconic in more ways than one. Every city has a cultural pride of place, and the Kala Academy was always Goa's. Compared to the great institutions across the country in Pune, in Bombay, in Delhi, in Calcutta, in Kerala. And the issue here is that all along the Kala Academy's reputation, the Kala Academy's place as a center for excellence has never been in doubt. What has now happened, and which is something that has really saddened our artistic community in Goa, is the fact that the so-called new avatar of Kala Academy, born out of restructuring it and redesigning it and what have you, has led to, according to them, a creation of a new 2.0 avatar of that great institution of theirs, which has led to they feeling slighted, primarily because the facilities and the manner in which the renovation was done, the kind of activities the kind of performances that they could give based on the facilities that they had, all of which has been called to question. We will of course look into other issues of the whole structural damages, the ego battles that have been going on, the very, very unfortunate slighting of the Charles Correa Foundation, which has been the spirit behind keeping up this institution in such a manner. All that we'll get into later. But first and foremost, as we get into this particular discussion and debate, let us look into why the artistic community is feeling so slighted and so saddened. I have with me, of course, one of the finest panels one could ever gather. All of them have been kind of stakeholders and experts in their own way. And the underlying thread amongst all panelists is, of course, they are extremely passionate about Kala Academy in particular and Goa's art and culture in general. Armin Ribeiro Santan is a senior architect with the Charles Correa Foundation. Welcome, Armin. Tahir Narona, of course, is another young architect who's delved deep into this subject and, of course, has been associated with the Charles Correa Foundation in different capacities. Dr. Meenakshi Martins, of course, actor is too small a term for her. She's been the child of Kala Academy in the sense and has seen many years of excellence within the portals of that great institution. And Francis Coelho is a theatrical production specialist. Also, Francis has been one of the primary key members who have basically formed this entire movement to protest and to take the artists' anger, angst and pain into the public sphere. I'll start with you, Francis, if you could just take off from where I've left off and speak about what the artists feel.
So I'll try and explain it in a very simple way. See, all across the country, we've got auditoriums that have facilitated different art forms. So like, for example, there is the Natya Gruhas in Dadar, there is the Bal Gandharva Rang Mandir in Pune, there is the Kala Mandir in Calcutta. All of these auditoriums are available for a very small price, like 25,000, 30,000. Kala Academy is available for about 20,000 rupees. In that 20,000, you can come there and you've got all the facilities. You've got sound, you've got lights, you've got backstage equipment, you've got everything. So even a small artist from a rural Nagpur or Satara can come to Bombay or come to Pune and put up their production, and that's what helps keep culture alive. What happened after Kala Academy reopened is that we saw artists like Rajdeep being told to bring in their own sound systems. We run an academy where we teach kids 5 performing arts. We did our annual show over there, and we weren't given enough stage monitors. The lighting was completely missing, the stage lighting that we required. And we realized that suddenly that available auditorium to us is now not there anymore. And the artist community will suffer and is suffering because of it. So the facilities that were available, you could come there and you could stage an entire performance. Now, you can go to another auditorium. Like in Bombay, you've got the NCPA. The NCPA is available. The Jamshed Baba Theatre is available for 3 lakhs for a session, a 4-hour session. Compare it to a Natyagruha in Dadar, which is available for 30,000 rupees.
Right.
It's 1/10 of the cost. Right. What this does is, it allows the smallest of the small artists to come there and perform and put up their acts, which is what troubled us the most as the artist community. We said this is not happening at all. You can't really take an auditorium that was so well furnished and furbished for our performances and mess up every little detail, from the air conditioning to the carpeting to the staging to the sound to the lights to the acoustics. Every detail I can I have published papers on it. I have spoken about it. I can, whoever wants to debate on this, I can give them intricate, minute details about what and how they have messed up. Now, when you do something like this, it affects the art and culture of Goa directly. Right, you've taken the biggest institution and completely rogered it. So how does a small artist come and stage their shows over there?
So, and are you saying this has happened post the so-called renovation? It wasn't there before.
It has started in 2004, but post the renovation, it has gone completely to the dogs. Completely to the dogs. An artist like Rajdeep sells his tickets for $100, $200, $300, right? On the 9th of August now, there's a show where there's a stand-up comedian coming from Delhi. Their tickets start at $500. So they can bring in a sound system. They can bring in the lighting that they want.
Right.
They can do whatever they want because they're generating that kind of revenue.
Right.
But like an artist like Rajdeep, even after selling out the auditorium, he's still struggling to make ends meet. Now, he depends on that sound system. He depends on that lighting system.
And there would be many like him.
Exactly.
Okay. Meenakshi, just you carry on the conversation on the same lines and what you feel, because you're such a veteran and you've seen the glory days of Kala Academy more than most people here.
Yeah, so when I attended this press conference, where we all met the previous time, and then they formed a, sort of a committee and they protested. These things were discussed because these are alien topics. Like a theatre without an acoustic system, a theatre without, good sitting arrangements or the carpets, or where the lights change on their own. This is unheard of. I mean, it's scandalous. So apparently, homework was missing. Or expertise was missing, and nobody was taken into confidence who had some kind of an idea about the stage system or the acoustics or what needs to be done. Because not only being an actor, I was on the advisory board for 2 years,
right.
2 terms,
Right.
in fact, for Kala Academy.
Right.
And I also had the honor, after the Charles Correa set up the academy,
Right.
and I was made the guide to explain the nooks and corners of the academy with the technical know-how of the whole thing to all the dignitaries that came, because that
Right.
time it was like a tourist stop. It was a big hub.
Absolutely, yes.
And people came to just see the Kala Academy and how it functioned, and the acoustics in the black room. I had to explain all those in details. And if the acoustic system is missing anywhere in the theatre, it is detrimental to the well-being of every actor, artist, musician in Goa.
Right.
And
right.
that is very, very, sad, because I feel sad at the whole thing. And obviously, we are here not to point fingers, but to find a solution to the best.
The point that Francis made was very important, where he said that, look, where does the small-time artist or the small-time theatre director, where does he or she go? Because Kala Academy was seen as one place where he could go and economically like benefit from the art.
That is the only place you
Yes,
can go to.
yes, yes.
I mean, now we have Rabindra Bhavan somewhere here and there, but they are also having issues and problems which are almost, similar,
Yes.
in a similar way. So, I think holistically, now when we are looking at art and culture of Goa and artists of Goa, whether we are theatre or music, musicians, Indian and Western music, then we have to look at the whole system very holistically.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know,
True.
the things that we need and the things that need to be put in place.
Correct. Tahir, though you're an architect, and I'll come back to the deep studies that you've done on that front. But sticking to this theme of the impact that it is happening on artists, in the sense that, see, what happens ultimately, the whole institution was built for the promotion of art. Where do you see from somebody who's been associated so closely with the Charles Correa Foundation, where do you see that particular need for and the excellent reputation that Kala Academy had as a home for artists? Where do you see that getting threatened?
I mean, Kala Academy is a unique institution just in the way that it was the first school that had Indian and Western classical music, Indian and Western classical dance, Indian and Western performing arts in it. I mean, it was very much built for this type of unique blend of Indian and Western culture and performance that comes out of Goa.
Right.
And in some way, also its first managing committee, which Ms. Martins was part of, seemed to reflect that with great dignitaries from both sides. And yet, despite it being this first of a kind, really world famous structure and world famous association, its costs have always been affordable to the local Goan performer.
Right.
And its spaces have been designed to make the local performer feel at home,
Correct.
feel comfortable, but yet feel that they're presenting in a very prestigious place.
Correct.
So, I mean, just looking, if as a completely non-artist, I think that ethos needs to be preserved in Kala Academy, no matter what form it's
Right,
in.
right.
That's the only way you keep Kala Academy hospitable to
Correct.
every artist.
Correct. I mean, quickly moving to the I would say a rather unfortunate powwow that seems to have taken place. It's not actually a powwow, it's pow, because what has happened is we feel that the art and culture department has for some reason pointing fingers at the Charles Correa Foundation for its original infrastructure or the original manner in which it was designed, to try and kind of sweep a lot of other criticism that is happening, contemporary criticism, under the carpet. Even as late as 30th of July, it was mentioned in the House that even the Charles Correa Foundation and his team, what they meant was, and Charles Correa Foundation and the foundation team, were not able to provide solutions to the problems of Kala Academy, which has been built on sand dunes just 2.5 meters away from the tide line. Without getting into the pros and cons of this, I would just like you to address a little bit and then make your point on the belittling of the Charles Correa Foundation in many ways.
I think that number one is that the Charles Correa Foundation has got involved in this after they announced that they were planning to demolish a part of the Kala Academy. It's not like the Charles Correa Foundation would jump at any small news or thing that comes about Kala Academy. In 2004, when they were planning to do this renovation, we didn't have a Charles Correa Foundation at that point of time. It's much more recent. The thing is that our objective has been very clear. We just want to keep the Kala Academy alive. We wanted to serve the public the way Tahir has described it most appropriately, that because it's such a wide spectrum of people that get supported through the Kala Academy.
Right.
All right? And we have absolutely no interest of getting and targeting anybody, except that we want to make sure that end of the day, artists like how Francis has been talking about, they have their ecosystem, and and we are happy to see that the Kala Academy is functioning the way that it was originally proposed, to meet the demands and the needs of the growing artist community. And the Kala Academy by itself is such an important structure in the urban context of Panjim. It so beautifully fits in, it does such a wonderful connection. All these things about sand dunes, I really don't know. Yeah, but But the other thing is the constant this thing that we have not provided any support. The fact is that we've been offering to handhold. We've not said that we want to be consultants. Yeah, we definitely do not want to be consultants. We want to handhold the process. We knew how it was built. You can bring in new consultants. We don't want to be part of the, what you would say, the business of it. Business of it.
Yes,
yeah?
yes.
We can handhold the whole thing. We can support you at every stage. All right. We've ourselves brought in consultants who could come do evaluation of what was the condition of the building, and we can say, okay, from this point onwards, if you're doing it, then we will get these people involved, and they'll show you how it can be done. All right. So I don't know why. I think that that getting involved in the collective in a way was like stepping on the minister's feet, on his toes. He wanted to have it his own way. Yeah?
Right.
And
right.
we didn't agree at all with that.
Tahir, just getting into the meat of this, couple of significant events that have happened, which of course alarmed a lot of people. See, even before the reopening, the stage roof of the open air auditorium collapsed in July last year. Okay. Then in December 2023, mirrors in the green room came crashing. Okay. Then on April 22nd this year, 24, false ceiling inside the Kal Academy came down crumbling. These are 3 or 4 incidents that have happened. Then on July 17, 2023, the roof again collapsed. Okay. Now the issue here is that when all this happened, in a report tabled in the State Assembly, it was said that the sudden collapse of the roof of the open auditorium was caused by corroded steel in the structure itself. Okay. And of course, there was another certification saying that the IIT Mumbai has already certified the whole thing. If you could just quickly react to these events, taking into account whatever has been said.
So to me, when I looked at the work order that was issued in May 2021, if I'm not mistaken, it said structural strengthening of the entire building. Now, what does structural strengthening means? It means that we all know that there were portions of steel in especially the slabs and beams that were rusted, corroded quite badly. The structural strengthening, the contractor was supposed to go and replace those corroded members. That is basic engineering sense. Now, the sheer fact that this roof over the open air auditorium has come down and the report of so many experts has said that it's due to corroded steel. I don't know if they hadn't reached that portion yet or what, but what it seems to be from the pictures was that there was a fresh coat of waterproofing laid on top of that.
Okay.
Now, that to me is immediately raise a flag. You normally first repair the structure and then you treat the structure so no more water comes in.
Right.
Until the time we get a clear report looking at the timeline, all of these reports were made in a rush because this fell during assembly, if you remember.
Right.
So I'm still waiting for the government to put forward a proper white paper. Maybe their 3-member committee will do that. That's the only way we'll really get to know what has happened. But prima facie, this is what I see the problem as.
I'll just quote one paragraph from the report or something that was said. Composite structures were under corrosion attack over 43 years, resulting in a sudden collapse of the structural steel members or the RCVC slab. Although the CM said that although structural repairs or strengthening of the open air auditorium was not carried out, 40 centimeters average thickness of old waterproofing was removed and a new layer of thickness of 20-30 centimeters including chemical waterproofing was completed before the last monsoon.
See, now this doesn't make sense to me. You always repair first, then you treat. This is basic. I mean, think of as if a surgeon, you cut someone open, you fix the problem, then only you stitch them up, right?
Right.
Oh, what it seems to be done is that they stitched it up before fixing the problem on the inside, and that's what this report that you just read out sounds like to me from the architecture engineering perspective.
Okay. But actually, coming back to the involvement of artists and involvement of Charles Correa Foundation, also the artists, at every stage there is the feeling that this was seen as an isolated project beyond the realms of any kind of quote-unquote interference of the artistic community in others, and this would be built and handed over without any involvement of the people who are there, who are the end users. Don't you see a problem here, and what can be done towards fixing this?
No, I do see a problem there, but I think from their perspective, they were just repairing a structure without understanding its soul. So
Right.
we are connected to the heart and the soul of the Kala Academy. They are connected with the physical structure.
Brick and mortar.
Yes.
Yes.
So they were trying to repair that without paying attention to what it means, the meaning of the the establishment called Kala Academy,
Right.
of which we are the product. So we feel very strongly about it.
Right.
And I think now that they have said that they are going to set up an actors or artists committee to help them understand. So I hope experts like Francis or other people who are used in the modern technology, are used to the equipment and the layout and the knowledge of the artistic requirements.
Correct.
And those artists should be now, should get involved with how things are going to move ahead from here.
Also, at the same time, one feels that the basic need of every artist there is to stage a production properly and professionally.
Absolutely.
And the artist should not have the whole burden of organizing sound, organizing equipment,
at all.
organizing, because the artist is involved in so many other things.
Yes.
So that is extremely important, that they should get a ready-made facility to go and do what they want. Francis, before as I come to you, let me just flag some of the things that have been now said. Now, right now, the Chief Minister has agreed to form a committee of artists, okay, and involve the Charles Correa Foundation to address and rectify the defects. This is as late as yesterday, right? Okay, this is the comment. Secondly, the CM has informed that the report of the 3-member committee appointed to thoroughly study the issue would be tabled in the next assembly session. And he assured the members of the government will form a committee of quote-unquote genuine artists to provide suggestions regarding the Kala Academy. So how do you respond to these things? Is it too little, too late, or is it a light at the end of the tunnel? How do you see it?
So, I would like to touch base on what Ms. Martin said earlier. See, I'll give you two very specific examples.
Yeah.
One example is when we had the leader of opposition, first of all, they were not allowing us to go inside and see that place. They had put these big tin barricades around it when the construction was going on. After the construction was going on, only if you had a show, you were allowed to go and inspect what is going on. So we wanted to inspect because we went there, we did shows, we found these problems, and then we wanted to do a real inspection of, the back, what happens backstage, what
Right.
happens under stage,
Right.
When we did those inspections, we realized a couple of problems. Like, for example, there was flooding inside the black box. There was, water was not coming from top, it was coming from the walls.
I see.
Right?
I see.
Now, why was that water coming from the walls? It's very clear and very simple. I'm not an architect, they're architects, but they'll be able to tell you that they haven't gone into the detailed drawings of the place. They don't know what the existing drainage system was. Now they have.
So who knows?
So they should have either got the records from the PWD, or they should have got the records from the foundation. They should have found the records from somewhere. If they really cared, they would have found the records and they would have figured out where is the water flowing, and then they would have rectified it. But they've gone and blocked some of the drainage systems, and now water is coming in from places and they don't have clue. They don't have answers as to where the water is coming from. Now that's about the structural part. I'm sure the architects on this panel will talk about it more. But let's come to things like the sound, lights, and stuff that I'm a pro at. For example, the sound mixer, the light mixer. It's a board where you can change lights. So there's a scene now where there's some dangerous stuff happening. You want to put a red light. Then there's a scene where everything's cool and happy, and you want to put some blue or yellows. There's a lighting board. This lighting board that they have mentioned in the BOQ, which is the bill of quantities, that is the requirement that the department PWS has put out as part of their tender.
Right.
That BOQ mentions a board, right, that is 12-year-old technology.
Okay.
And the board that has been procured in the year 2023-24 is a 12-year-old board, right?
12-year, ancient.
Yeah,
That's it.
ancient. It's a 12-year-old board. Today, if I would buy a mobile, I'd buy a mobile from the last year, maybe a 23 model or a 24 model, right? Nobody goes and buys a 10-year-old product. Now, this has been done on purpose. So that's why I call it an out-and-out scam.
Why do you feel it's been done on purpose?
Because, see, what happens with these boards is, after they phase out, nobody buys them.
Right.
So you can buy them at pennies on the dollar. You can buy them for charana, as they say, and your BOQ still gives you 5 rupees for that charana item that you bought. So you're making a big amount of money, right? You're making a big whack on that. The margins are high because you're buying stuff that is redundant or outdated, and you're supplying it in this year at this year's prices or whatever, right? Same thing with the sound system. The sound system, any child across Goa and as low as the 5th standard, can Google these words and say PA systems or for auditorium, PA sound systems for auditoriums that host drama and theatrical events,
Right.
and list down the top 20 PA systems. Bose as a company is a great system for house systems, for car systems, but Bose will never come on that list of top 20.
Okay.
Not in India, not anywhere across the world.
Right.
Right? They have put the Bose system and like some other brands like Bose that are not featuring in those top 20 as part of the requirement. Now, why has that been done? There's again, because this is my wild guess, that they've got a vendor who's got a Bose system lying in Bombay that has not been sold. They're again getting it at pennies on the dollar. Then they can sell it to a Kala Academy. And then what happens is, when the guy who is the sound in charge at Kala Academy, the CM was talking about him, and this, the CM said that he doesn't know why the sound man was advising artists to bring their own sound. This is why. Because that sound guy who's at Kala Academy has been given a system that he can't work with. And he's worried that the artist is going to shoot him because the artist has his audiences to answer
Cater to, yes,
right?
yes.
And he can't cater to the artist's requirements with the sound system that he's given. So he takes a back foot and says, you please bring your own sound system. Now the CM says he doesn't know why the person is saying so, right? But this is why he's saying so. Also, see, I'll tell you what, we as Kala Rakhon Mand, we have never politicized the issue. Other politicians talk about Shahjahan and Taj Mahal and all that. Never, you can look at any of the videos that we have spoken about. We are not politicizing this issue. We don't want to politicize it. There are enough of other things that we can politicize if we need to. But we have stayed away from that. We've never attacked the political party versus BJP for it. We have attacked the governance. We have attacked the administration. That there has been a fraud with the Kala Academy things, whether it's structural or whether it's technical. And we say that this has to be rectified. We want it. Our aim and objective is, see, Kala Academy is the structure is as good as the best in the country.
Right.
It's like the NCPA in Bombay. The National Center for Performing Arts, right, built by Homi Baba, has an experimental theatre, has the Tata Theatre, has the Jamshid Baba Auditorium,
Right.
Kala Academy similarly has the Dinanath Mangeshkar Auditorium, which is beautifully built, right, with acoustics from places like Bold Baranik. They have the open air amphitheatre, which is amazing. They have a black box. Plus, they have a smaller amphitheatre towards the seaside. Plus, they have smaller rooms. The complex was like a haven for artists, right? These guys have gone and basically downgraded and manhandled that entire complex. The roof outside is falling. The roof at the rooms, teaching rooms, is falling. There's water coming inside the auditorium. The stage has a blower sound on it, so the stage mics are picking up that sound. Everything has been rogered. Right, so we as artists are saying we don't want to politicize this. We have never made statements against the BJP. We are not talking about Shahjahan. We don't get into all of that.
Right.
We are talking about facts, figures about how you all have messed up the place and how we want it to be state of art.
Right.
It was state of art. Bring it back to state of art, and that's all we want. Whether you do it as the government in power or the next government in power, we will not stop till you all have brought it to state of art.
Right.
This, and we are not politicizing it. None of our Kala Rakhon Mand, we did the cry outside over there. We never attacked the BJP. We never spoke about Shahjahan. We never mentioned any ministers or their names. Nothing. We spoke about, we are crying because our Kala Academy is in doldrums. Right? Every other press conference we've taken, I called Roger Rego, who's a very big mentor of mine. He's held my hand as a child and taught me this business. I called him. We never attacked anybody.
Right.
We have, the only people we have approached is we've approached the CM because we've sent him a letter. In the house again, the CM said that he hasn't been approached, but we've got a letter that we've inverted at his office to say, sir, we'd like to meet you.
Right.
We'd like to tell you these problems. And he's not met us, and he's claimed that nobody has approached him. So, that's all that we want.
Okay. Meenakshi, before I go to Tahir, see, since you've seen the glory days more than anybody in this panel, it's very important for the young people to understand from somebody like you as to why Kala Academy is considered so glorious in terms of memories that you have, anecdotes that you want to share, things that will make the younger generation understand why is there such a big song and dance about Kala Academy.
See, it's very dear to the hearts of all the artists in Goa, whether be it performing arts, in theatre or theatre or music, all the performances that were held there, whether it was indoors or outdoors, or there's an arena theatre out there. There is another small theatre on the steps behind towards the seaside. We were free to use every single space of that Kala Academy, and I have used it because I think I have done 3 or 4 theaters, dramas out there for which I have won the Best Actress Award. So you can imagine, like 3 to 4 months per year of my life has gone into that building, rehearsing and then performing. So it's very close to our heart because it gave us and it nurtured us in every single form, whether we could experiment with our voices or with our performing arts, whether it was indoors, whether it was outdoors, whether it was in the arena theatre. That bougainvillea incidentally was planted by me when when that thing started, you know, and someone had chopped it off. And you know, whether it was behind. So it was ours. The connect was that, you know, that it belonged to every single actor, artist, musician of Goa, that we could avail of its facilities and we could avail of it at the least cost possible to enhance the art and culture of Goa. And that was the sole motto. I think the goal of Kala Academy was that, to nurture artists and art in Goa. And that should be the only focus and goal of everyone, every administration that comes, or every part of the governance that takes over from time to time, to look into the well-being of the art and culture of Goa.
Right.
And Kala Academy is at the center of it.
Sure.
So
sure.
it should be restored to what it was, to its glorious days. In fact, it has seen better days in the middle. I think there was no defect at all after we repaired it. It was repaired. In fact, after it was built, it was repaired extensively when I was on the board of council. And then there was no problem at all. You know, I don't know about the sand dunes because I haven't seen any, and I've seen it under construction. And there was no problem. And we have thoroughly enjoyed the building. And many generation of artists, I think I may be one of the senior most generations, but after me there have been several generations who have been privileged to study there, to pass out from there. There is a, you know, the course, courses there, and the music courses are there in various forms of music and instruments and vocal also. We have been very privileged to be part of, you know, this institution called Kala Academy.
Right.
And so let us not reduce it to just a building.
Right.
And we
Very
should keep
important.
that
Correct.
ethos.
Correct. Tahir, getting to the brick and mortar stuff, which also is important because of you know, it's being labeled as a quote unquote scam. Now apparently almost 50 crores have been spent, and what has been said is 42 crores has been paid to the contractor up till now, and the contractor's defect liability period is 3 years, and is expected to maintain the structure for 5 years. Now, this defect liability argument, if you can just simplify as to what it means, because what to the layman means is that it doesn't matter if these defects have happened, ultimately the contractor will ultimately pay for it. So, why do you have a problem?
Well, in most renovations of old buildings, you generally do undertake a long-term maintenance planned contract with the contractor, because once you restore something, these old buildings these problems can reoccur from time to time. To me, honestly, the 5-year maintenance period is too less. It should have been a 20-year maintenance period if they truly want to keep the building standing for so long. I feel, and I don't know enough, but I feel like the defect liability clause has been inserted there because the government must have sniffed out that some of the work that was being done is substandard, and instituted this as a way to pull up the contractor, because you don't normally see a defect liability clause in a building contract. Armin may be able to weigh in more for general civil works. It's sometimes for like equipment or things like that. Sometimes you'll have a defect liability, but yeah. So that, if that makes sense.
According to, just to stay with you for a little while longer, see, according to you, fundamentally, where do you see this thing going wrong? The entire argument, number one. Number two, the issue here is, of course, I'll get into the meat of what Charles Correa Foundation said and ask that to Armin. But since you've kind of studied the matter so closely, where do you see prima facie the defect lies?
So prima facie, from the first report by GEC, they all said the building could be repaired. They pointed out that there were slabs and beams that were critically weak. They said the waterproofing was overloading the structure. Take it off, replace the steel, fix it back. And it would have been wonderful if it just followed the original plans and fixed it back, maybe upgraded a few of the equipments with the newest specifications, and the whole thing would have been over. Like, everyone would have been happy. Mr. Minister and the department, both departments, Art and Culture and PWD,
yeah.
would have been great heroes for restoring this building back to its former glory. To me, I think, I don't know what's gone wrong, but in chasing these contracts, tendering it out, giving it without a tender, keeping the artists out of any discussions, all of this type of opacity and the way the governance has played out, as Francis said, has caused more harm than good, has caused
Right.
serious harm,
Right.
and it could have easily been averted. This is my view.
Okay, Arvind, the foundation at some point of time had said that the department and the art and culture department and PWD, whoever is undertaking this, they've changed the core design elements of the heritage building, and by changing it, it will no longer be the same building. Why did Charles Correa Foundation take that position and say that the core design elements have been done?
So if you start from say 2004 itself, you know, when the Calactomy was going to be made into a screen and this thing for screening movies,
Right.
a space for screening movies.
Right.
That time itself, the acoustics underwent a change. Yeah, and I was trying to just understand this a little better, so I read up some of the things that we've got at the foundation, and it so happened that Charles Correa understood what was done to the foundation. He wrote a letter to the consultants at that time, and in the letter he says, and this is really very interesting. You see, the auditorium, the entire acoustics, the volume of the auditorium was considered not just the space up till the ceiling that you see, but it went beyond that. Yeah?
Okay.
Because the ceiling was a kind of a translucent, transparent this thing for sound, and a large part of the acoustics relied. So the acoustic volume was very different from the acoustic volume that came post the 2004 renovation.
Okay.
In 2004, they just built a full false ceiling over there, and the volume of the space just dropped. Now, the consultant very happily goes and writes a whole letter saying that no, under these parameters, the hall is performing the same. But a person like Charles Correa, who had designed this and experienced his earlier design through the sound that he had expected to be, he couldn't find the same performance at that time, the same acoustic performance at that time. And definitely put it down on paper that this has gone very wrong.
So there was one core design element that was tampered
That was
with.
tampered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now the thing is that I think in this particular one, all right, at least at that point of time, there was some kind of a person with some knowledge of acoustics. In this particular case, you have employed kind of a consultant cum contractor who is absolutely incompetent in the fine aspects. He might have known better how to restore a building, but not in the finer aspects like acoustic, lighting. Not only that, there was a certain arrogance because not wanting to deal with with the artists is itself a big arrogance.
How did this arrogance play out? Why did you all feel? Why are you using that term?
You see, the first thing is that one, when we said that we like to handhold the process, all right. We were being kept out. So you know the minister himself came for the first what you call stakeholders meeting. After that, and he just made a lot of noise without getting anything moving. He didn't come for the second and third meeting. By that time, we were already in courts. All right. By that time, he just simply then said that, you know, I know everything, I will do everything, and I'll get the whole ball rolling. Then we find that they've appointed a whole construction this thing. I think this is a big mistake to have a kind of a consultant contractor on board. I mean, who's there to tell him that he's going right or he's going wrong?
Right.
And today when I see, and what Tahir rightly points, that when you have the guy doing both consultancy and the construction and the execution, you might as well take that defect liability period for much longer. I mean, it's better to pay safe. Otherwise, at least the consultant would point out you've not done your work properly. Now, starting from the point where that amphitheater, the stage roof collapsed, all right, you can see that the contractor decided that he was going to, or contractor consultant, decided that he was going to limit his terms to wherever he thought it was necessary. He didn't want to go even to that stage roof. All right. And today he says that, okay, that was not examined. So when I send somebody to repair, say, my house, he goes to every corner of the house and says, I'm repairing this. Here he decides that this is not to be done, this is not to be done. How do we know what has he even done and what has he not even done? Who's the person monitoring? They say that there's an audit firm that was employed to engage, but we don't hear a sound of that audit firm. There should have been some statement from them saying that, okay, we had audited this. You know, we found that that report of the consultant cum contractor was short of these items. Okay. Where is that report?
Francis wants to make a point. Just get in and then I'll come back to you.
I want to quickly add to this. See, what happens is if you build a normal house, I built my house in Goa. I kept the structural engineer separately, I kept the contractor separately, and my architect was separate. My architect was always hounding the structural engineer and the contractor to get things right. The structural engineer was fighting with the contractor to get things right. So 3 different entities fight with each other, collaborate with each other, and then you ensure that the place is strong, it looks like the way the architect intended, and the contractor ensures that everything is done. Here what I have, or we at Kala Rakotmond have realized after the inspection and after getting some documents and their BOQs, that they have given it to one company called Tecton Buildcon, right? That person has then appointed consultants for whatever he wanted. So the sound, the acoustics, waterproofing, whatever he wanted, and then he is responsible to them. Now the the audit firm, which is Rights, is only auditing what was his work and what has he delivered. So if his work was 6 bricks, he has to just show 6 bricks over there, and the auditor says 6 bricks have been put. Right? But this is not the way it works, right? How it should have worked is the consultants should have been part of the community.
Right.
The community should have appointed consultants who they think will safeguard the interest of the artist, safeguard the interest of Kala Academy and its soul. And those consultants should then be kept separate from the contractor, whichever Buildcon they wanted to give it to, right? And then these two are like your checks and balances. In this case, there is no tender, there is directly a contract awarded to somebody. And so that's why this whole thing is a mess, because the normal checks and balances are not there. See, even if he happens with that way, they appoint a consultant who creates the art and design for the festival annually. That art and design is then put out in a tender document, and you ask for quotations based on that design. Then that design is executed by an execution agency.
Right.
So, and everything is separated. Here, they've just given it to one guy, he's their, son-in-law, and said, you do everything.
Arvind, don't you think it's a sheer irony that the acoustics of Kala Academy that were done by Bolt, Berenek and Newman, the same acoustics engineers who actually designed the acoustics for the UN headquarters in New York. So isn't it a sheer irony that we had this class of people who were designing the acoustics, and now you and all of us are discussing what are the structural impurities that have crept in under this new system. Coming back to your flow of thought on what are the core design elements that were tampered. You already spoke about the sound flow.
Yeah. No, so the other thing was but coming back to the acoustics also, I'm sorry, I just have to say one little thing over here. Yeah. There was also an acoustic firm called Suri and Suri. Yeah. And these are the people who actually got into final detailing of the Kala Academy. I think the concept came from Bolt, Berenek and Newman.
Yes.
Yeah. But the actual final design came from basically, and the detailing and everything came from Suri. And I think that they were very, very fine acoustic consultants. The way that they made an adaptable acoustical system. This is one very important thing. I think that generally also when you're looking at Kala Academy, it's a space that is the ecosystem of the artists. Yeah. So everything speaks this art, which is not just the volumes, but it's also the spaces, the flow, this thing. It basically has to be a comfortable spaces for all these artists. The thing is that every one of those little things have been messed up with. Every one of the paintings, of the murals, everything has been messed up. The tiles, the flooring, the levels. Now suddenly they've introduced some level changes. So you have to walk from one, you have to climb over these little things.
Okay, so since you've got about roughly 5 to 7 minutes, we'll do this round of looking forward and what are the solutions, and can we extract something out of this? So starting with you, and then we'll go this way.
So I think that I don't know what announcement the Chief Minister made. I'm not sure.
I can
about that.
I can read it out again now,
Yeah.
just to refresh everything. So, firstly, the CM has agreed to form a committee of artists and involve the Charles Correa Foundation to address and rectify the defects. Number one. Secondly, the report of the 3-member committee appointed to thoroughly study the issue would be tabled in the next assembly session. And then the government will form a committee of genuine artists to provide suggestions regarding Kala Academy. So the first promise is to form a committee of artists to rectify the defects. Secondly, to form a 3-member committee that has already been appointed to study the issue and table the report in the next session.
So I would think the first one is what was needed right from the beginning.
Right.
A team of artists who actually tell the government what is necessary. The second one, which is that the paper which they are going to come up with, the white paper.
3-member committee.
3-member committee.
Yes.
So I would think that I don't know how far these people are going to go and who are the people who are going to be appointed for that, because you know, this involves looking into the works that have been done, and none of that is visible today externally. So you have to rely on the fact that the guy is telling you the truth, you know, and knowing a number of these government projects, and I'm going to be blunt about this, is you know that there's a little dodging or cutting of corners at every stage of the works. So I'm really worried that getting into that the 3-member committee is not going to produce anything of much
Anything
value.
tangible, yes.
Yeah.
Tahir, suppose we look at some light at the end of the tunnel. What do you think that needs to be done, taking into account what has already been discussed and what has not been discussed but should be brought to the table?
No, I welcome the CM's statement yesterday where he said that, where he acknowledged that there were problems with the work. I think till now we haven't had that acknowledgement. So for the Chief Minister of Goa to have that humility and accept that there are things that could have been done better and he wants to do them better, they were CM Bab, because that was a good move in the right direction. One thing I know of this 3-member committee is that all 3 of them are government servants, and that in itself raises me a red flag, because one of them is from GSIDC, one's from the engineering college. I don't know who the third gentleman is, but to me that already is a conflict of interest, right? They would be worried about their being suspended if they gave a too strong report or what. So I hope the CM can also intervene and make sure that the 3-member committee truly submits a white paper and is not pressurized by anybody powerful in the Goa government to obscure certain details and facts, because it's obvious that there are things that have gone wrong, and if we want to repair Kala Academy, we have to do it in a holistic way.
Okay. Meenakshi, what are your suggestions, especially with regard to involving artists now in the whole discussion?
It is a welcome statement made by the Chief Minister yesterday in the Assembly that he wants to include, artists of repute or whatever word that was used. I think that was a custom, and I do not know why it was stopped, because I was there on the committee at the age of 25.
Right.
So we need younger generation of artists to come on board, because they are more equipped with the modern technology and the modern, things that are happening in various fields of art and culture, and we should include those people,
Right,
people who are aware, who are knowledgeable, and who are willing to give time for the betterment of art and culture and Kala Academy in Goa. And but we have to be also very focused on who are going to be selected,
Right,
because we don't want any bias or any one-sided opinions. And as Tahir rightly pointed out, I would least trust the government servants into giving any kind of white paper to the government, because that is a conflict of interest right there. So I think when we form this committee of artists, let there be engineers, let there be Correa Foundation, and whoever is appointed should be, factual. Because for me, I am put off by the facade itself. I am insulted and hurt by it. The wall that was there of Kala Academy, it had a rich texture. It made you feel glorious. It made you feel, it was something out of the world way back in the early 80s.
Right.
But even now, I think the facade was glorious, and that has been done with. And I do not know why that has happened. So I think we should restore Kala Academy as it was, to the best of its ability in every aspect of performing arts, every aspect of it, including the look of Kala Academy, including the aura of Kala Academy, including the, as we say, the textures, the colors. I think someone not sensitive to these things has been involved.
Right.
And we need to sensitize the people who are going to take action, and we have to holistically, remedy the situation.
Also, the issue of, I also feel at some point of time, the Charles Correa Foundation should not be treated as the other, or as a as a foundation that is obstructing, because at the end of the day they were the creators of this center of excellence. So one feels that whatever be the case, and none of you all have specifically mentioned it, but I think I should mention this, that the Charles Correa Foundation has to be involved in this corrective process at all points of time.
They would be having the original plans and stuff like that. Of course, the PWD also has the original plans, because I have seen them during the first rectification that took place somewhere in '86 when the indoor theatre was not functional, and it incidentally began with a play of mine.
Right.
Both the theatres, technically.
I see.
But that problem has been there. It has been rectified, and then the problem was not there.
Right.
So that means it can be remedied.
Francis, on behalf of artists and everybody else, where do you see us heading now, and what is the right path to at least restore some of the knocks that everybody has faced?
So like I said earlier, see, we are like, when this is not a political organization, we are not doing this, we are not playing politics. We as Kala Rakon Maan, we have decided to fight this tooth and nail till we get the desired result of having a state of the art Kala Academy complex, the entire complex, right? And we are like, doing this actively. We are listening to every video, every comment. We are like, asking for every paper, every document, and we are going to fight this till the end, till we are completely satisfied. So they can put up a committee if they want, and the committee can give some biased report. But if we don't accept it, we'll continue the agitation, right? If they get people like the foundation on the committee, they get people like Roger Drago, because if we as a newly formed organization can bring in such experts from all across the country and take opinions, the government of Goa and all its might, you're telling me they can't? If they're not going to get those kind of people, then it's a deliberate, it's a farce basically, right? And if they're going to do this farce, we are going to keep fighting. So I would just like to say, as Kala Rakon Maan, we have promised the artistic community in Goa, we promised Goans that we will take this fight to its logical end, and we will ensure that Kala Academy and the entire complex at Kala Academy is restored to the state of art of today, right? Not of yesterday, not of 3 years back, of today. Right. If today, the whole world is using DNB systems in the best auditoriums, we want a DNB system at our auditorium. If Bolt, Varanick and Newman is not the best acoustic firm anymore, and the company that has bought them is, we want them to be used to do up the acoustics. The auditorium was built for theatre, and theatre in two forms. One is drama, Tiyat and Natak, right? We want the auditorium to be restored for Tiyat and Natak. We don't want the surround sound system. If he uses it for 5 days or 10 days in the year to do movies, the theatrists are using it for 120, 150 days of the year.
Right.
We want it to be restored to state of art for that purpose.
Yes.
And we will keep this fight alive, and that's what we promise Goans to do.
We've unfortunately run out of time, but as the name suggests, Kala Academy is all about art, and it has always been about the art of excellence, the art of glory, the art of pride, the art of professionalism. All this reverberates in its very soul. And as all of us have pointed out, that it is just not a brick and mortar kind of an institution. There's so much of history. There's so much of excellence. There's so much of artistic ability that resonates in virtually every pore of this great institution and its entire premises. And I think ultimately we should see this as a fight for glory. It should never have been that, in the sense that the very fact that the artistic community and others are fighting for the kind of lost or stolen glory of an institution which would never fade into the sunset. Artists would come and go, generations would come and go, but the institution would never fade into the sunset. And the worry that has been evoked here is that the institution itself is looking to fade into the sunset by acts of omission and commission that needs to be restored, and that is where the tragedy lies. And ultimately, everybody feels that this is a script which has really gone wrong, and it need not have been so. It is from a glorious institution, we are literally getting to very farcical arguments and ego battles and so on and so forth. It need not be the case. At the end of the day, the Kala Academy was never about individuals. It was about the glory of the collective, the glory of the artistic community, not just here, but across the country. And I think it is that whole community which has got together, not to fight personal battles, not to fight ego battles, but to essentially fight the simple battle of restoring the legacy that is there in front of them, not just for themselves, but for the future generations. So I think that is something that we must take away from this. Francis, Meenakshi, Tahir, Armin, thank you very much for all your inputs, your professional expertise, and more importantly, the passion that you all have brought to the table. I hope this passion carries us forward. Thank you very much.